once again. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Hiring Our Heroes virtual career community. We are excited to have you with us. Today is Industry Thursday, Industry Overview Thursday, and we have a phenomenal presentation talking specific about federal employment, but we will get into greater detail just shortly. My name is Marnie Holder, a Director of Career Summits and Virtual Events for Hiring Our Heroes. Normally we do in-person events all over the globe on military bases and in communities where veterans and military spouses reside. But we've been shifting to this virtual platform over the last 9 to 10 weeks, and we've been offering some great resources to those of you out there that are planning for your next career. So we're happy to have you with us. And today, our focus, this particular session, is about federal employment and connecting with. So we're going to jump right into the presentation shortly, but before we get started, I wanted to give you just a few admin notes. For those of you that are online that want to ask a question to any of our presenters, we do have the features which you've probably become very familiar with if you've been on virtual platforms over the last few weeks. There's a chat option and there's a Q&A. We're encouraging anyone that wants a question posed live during the presentation to post it in the Q&A feature. That ensures that your question will be posed to our presenters during today's session. So please post those questions in the Q&A and we will go ahead and address those. All right, it is truly an honor and a pleasure to have the Department of Veterans Affairs with us today. And it's an honor and pleasure to introduce Dr. Erin Lee, who is the Acting Director of Transition and Economic Development for Department of Veterans Affairs, Veterans Benefits Administration. So Dr. Lee, I will turn it over to you to kick us off and get us rolling.
Great, thank you so much. And good morning to all of you who have joined us. We're very excited that you've taken the time to learn a little bit about our agency and hopefully gain some interest in coming to join us. I also like to thank Hiring Our Heroes for leaning forward and sharing this employment opportunity with us and this platform to share the great things that we do for service members, transitioning service members, veterans, and their families. So the Department of Veterans Affairs knows that economic well-being for a veteran community requires stakeholders from across VA's ecosystem to come together to improve opportunities as long as long-term economic sustainability can really exist. And that's our goal, is to really make sure that we can provide that to these great men and women. It's not enough to just get transitioning service members, veterans, and military spouses employment. We also want to make sure that we're meeting the economic needs of the diverse and ever-changing veteran population. We're excited to have varying special hiring authorities and flexibilities where we're able to directly reach out to service members, veterans, and their families through all these great opportunities and hire them directly. And so you'll learn a little bit about some of those great hiring authorities later on in our presentation. We also know, and it's not just our belief, we know it's a fact, that VA is an employer of choice. Over 60% of our employees are veterans. And so we know that we're truly living out the mission that President Lincoln shared, and we're making sure that we continue to care for him who have borne the battle for his widow and orphan by serving all of the great and wonderful honor men and women of America's veterans. So we know that we are doing a wonderful job, and we know we could do even better if we had you on our team. So I'm hoping that all of you are getting excited about learning how to choose the VA family, because we certainly would love to choose you. Thank you so much.
All right, if we could move on to the next slide, and I want to jump right into our presenters. And our first presenter is with the Office of the Talent Management Team, Miss Ebony Jerry. She's going to tell us all about why to choose VA as your next career. Ebony?
Good morning. Next slide, please. Why choose VBA for employment? Our mission at the VBA, President Lincoln's promise, to care for him who shall have borne the battle and for his widow and his orphan, by serving and honoring the men and women who are Americans' veterans. As a VA professional, your opportunities are endless. With many openings in the multiple functions of VA, you will have a wide range of opportunities and leadership leadership positions at your fingertips. During the most recent federal government shutdown, Veterans Benefits Administration was not impacted, which allowed us to continuously provide veterans with support. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ebony. Really appreciate that. All right, as Dr. Lee had mentioned at the beginning, we're going to cover some special hiring authorities to get more veterans and military spouses at Department of Veterans Affairs. So next, our presenter is Ms. Renetta Bradford, and she's going to tell us all about that special hiring authority and how you need to navigate that system to get into VA. Renetta?
Thank you, Marnie. Thank you, everybody. Again, this is Renetta Bradford. Next slide, please. So you've heard about the reason why we want you at the Department of Veterans Affairs and what our mission is. But in order to get into the Department of Veterans Affairs, there's more than one way. And so these special hiring authorities are just what they are. They are authorities for both the military, or I should say veterans, and military spouses. And as you see on your screen, VRA, 30% or more disabled. Schedule A, the disabled veterans enrolled in the Department of Veterans Affairs training program. And of course, the Military Spouse Authority. We're going to talk about all 5 of these, so please hang in there with me. Next slide, please. The Veterans Recruitment Appointment. Some of you may have heard about this, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to tell you about it today if you haven't. The Veterans Recruitment Authority allows agencies to hire veterans, of course, through the VRA eligibility or based on a veteran's service-connected disability. Ooh, that's a lot of words, right? So bottom line is this is an authority that the federal government, not just the VA, but the federal government can use and certain hiring managers can use to bring veterans in up to the grade of GS-11. Now, GS-11 just means a pay scale. GS is a general schedule pay scale, like when you were in the armed forces, you were E something, right? And the 11 is what we call the pay grade. That means that's the maximum pay grade that you can have under the VRA appointment. If you are a disabled veteran, if you served in the military for at least 3 years, and of course, you were discharged or retired under honorable conditions, you are eligible for the VRA program. The hiring manager, however, is the individual who determines whether he or she wants to use this appointment. The only documentation you need is your DD-214 as proof that you did serve in the military, as well as your disability rating letter if you have one from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Next slide, please. 30% or more disabled. 30% or more is what it says. 30% or more, it doesn't matter if you're 100%, 90%, 70%, there's no more extra points. It's 30% or more. If you received a service-connected disability rating from the Department of Veterans Affairs, either while you're in the military and was discharged for medical reasons, or once you left the military, you are eligible for 30% or more disabled veteran appointment. Again, it is up to the hiring manager to authorize this appointment if he or she chooses. But the wonderful thing about this one is there is no grade restriction, which means that you can come in based on your qualifications and skills as high as a GS-15 under the 30% or more disabled veteran program. You are eligible again if you're, of course, disabled, if you separated from the armed forces, all right, under honorable conditions, 3 years or more if you don't have a disability rating, or if, I'm sorry, my bad, I'm going too fast, 30% or more is the maximum. I'm sorry, you must have a 30% or more disabled rating, and of course you have to have been discharged or retired under honorable conditions. So the DD-214 again is your documentation along with a copy of your proof that you are 30% or more disabled. Now this proof is not the documentation that tells others what your disability is. It is just a document that was given to you if you haven't received it yet, or if you already have received it. It is a documentation that merely states the Department of Veterans Affairs have found you at a 30% or more disabled service-connected disability. That's it. So you do not have to provide what your disabilities are in this letter. That's not the one you want to give to them. Next slide, please. Schedule A. Some of you may have heard about Schedule A, but there's many of you who I've been talking to that does not know about this. Some of you will receive a disability from the Department of Veteran Affairs, but it may not be at 30. In that case, you're authorized as Schedule A if your professional doctor or someone from the Department of Veteran Affairs who is authorized to do so has determined that although you are not 30% or more disabled, you are an individual who is disabled, and therefore you can receive a Schedule A letter. That Schedule A letter can be used to hire you non-competitively for positions in the federal government, and it's a letter that is signed by your medical doctor or an approved individual in the Department of Veteran Affairs that says this individual, although disabled and has a certain disability, is employable and can be hired under the Schedule A program. But the beautiful thing about the Schedule A is for those of you who are military spouses, the Schedule A program is also open to you. It's not just for veterans, it is for any individual who has a disability that has been determined by the federal government as being eligible for a Schedule A letter. All right, so that's open to everyone. If you are a veteran, of course, you need to make sure that you were discharged under honorable conditions. And then once you receive that discharge, your DD-214, along with a copy of the Schedule A letter, is the documentation that is required. And again, that's just not open to veterans. And I don't know if you know about this one. This is awesome. If you are a veteran and you are part of the Voc Rehab and Employment and you've been eligible for that program, you can receive what we call a Disabled Veterans Enrolled in a Department of Veteran Affairs training program. As a VRNE, what do I want to call you? Applicant? No. Candidate? No. Participant. There you go. As a VRNE participant, there are agencies that can bring you on under an internship program where you receive training in that particular office and agency, and upon successful training or completion of your training at whatever GS grade that training was authorized, if there is an opportunity for a position, a permanent position, you can be hired without competition into the same position that you received the training. There's a stipend that is given to you under the VRNE program, and so you would need to speak to your VRNE counselor to gain more information. And so the documentation that's required, of course, would be approved certification of training from your trainer, and then any other documents that VRNE requires. I'm not the expert in that, but we have some individuals on the line that may be able to give more information about this program, but of course I wanted you to know about it. And finally, but certainly not least, our military spouse appointing authority. For those of you who are military spouses, that is, you're currently, your spouse is on active duty and they are relocating to a new location, number one, or your spouse was retired or separated with 100% disability rating, or if your spouse gave the ultimate price for our country and was killed on active duty, you are eligible for the Military Spouse Appointing Authority. It allows agencies to appoint certain military spouses, and I just told you who you are. The authority does not entitle spouses to an appointment as any of those authorities I just went over, but it is an authority that the Veteran Affairs, along with other federal agencies, can use to appoint military spouses into certain positions. The documentation that's required is the DD-214 if your spouse is currently out of the military and they're 100% or more disabled. Your marriage certificate to show that you're still married, because you have to be married or to the spouse in order to receive the Military Spouse Appointing Authority unless your spouse was killed on active duty. Then of course the DD-1300 is what's required as well. In that case, you would need to have still be unmarried in order to participate in the Military Spouse Appointing Authority as an individual whose spouse was killed on active duty. So those are the hiring authorities, and we would love to have you at the Department of Veteran Affairs, and hopefully we'll continue to convince and persuade and cajole other hiring managers to use these authorities to bring you on. We would love to have you in the Department of Veteran Affairs.
Great. Thank you, Renetta.
You're welcome.
I wanted to turn it over. We do have two awesome testimonies, and I know we have both of them on the line. So I will turn it over to Mr. Larry Ward first. I'll let you take it from here.
Good morning. My name is Larry Ward. I am a veteran. I joined the military back in September of 1982, and I retired 2003 of November. And upon retiring, I went back to school to get my degree in elementary education. Once I obtained my degree, I became a children's pastor for my church, where it was a very large church, and we served many kids there. I stayed there for approximately about 5 years, and then I transitioned from there, and I became the site lead at Joint Base Lewis McChord for the SFL TAP program, where we talk to veterans about transitioning service members about their benefits as they transition to civilian life. I did that for about 7 years. This is around the time that I met Shantae and their team. They came down to do a economic summit down at Joint Base Lewis McChord, and they were scoping out some areas and everything. So we got to know the team, and we worked with them at different functions and all. So as they was doing the job fair at South Puget Sound Community College, Shantae asked me, why don't you go ahead and apply for a position? And at first I said, well, I don't know, because I was thinking about retiring within 2 years. But then she said, well, there's great opportunities here in the VA. I said, well, let me think about it. And I said, this is a pretty large decision, so I need to talk with my spouse about this because, you know, it's a huge transition. We already had plans going. So as I talked to her, she asked me to hold on and don't retire too soon because 58 was a little bit too early to retire. After that, I said, okay, I'll hang on for a little bit longer then. And so I came back and Shantae asked me, you know, again, go ahead and apply. Once I applied, the process was so fluid. It was so smooth. I could not believe it because most of the time when you apply for positions within the government, there's a lot of bureaucracy, red tape, and it goes on and on and on. But this direct hiring authority that they did that day just blew my mind. I was in awe of it. It was easy as me going up to the table, inquiring about a position, giving them my resume, which I had on my phone. I kept my electronic copy on my phone, so I emailed the resume to them. They said, come back in about 15 minutes. So I returned in 15 minutes. They said, well, you're qualified for a position. Well, we're gonna set you up for an interview within 10 to 15 minutes, come back again. So I came back, sat down with the assistant director of the RO in Seattle for an interview. And upon completion of the interview, they said to me, we'll let you know within a day or two. So I went back to working at the summit because I was also working there. And by the time the summit ended about 14:30, I received a call extending an offer for me to come on to the VA. And it was so surreal, I couldn't believe the fact that, you know, I went there that morning, I submitted my resume, I conducted an interview, and then I'm hired all in one day. And that right there gave me hope in the system that there's help for veterans out there who need it. There's, you know, there's how can you say it? You know, there's hope that positions are there, but we have to be proactive in doing it. And I think that if we can do more direct hiring, you get more quality people. From my standpoint, as a applicant, when you go to these fairs and stuff, it's kind of daunting and all, right? Because you sit there and listen, well, we'll call you, and you never get it. This one delivered in such a big way. And I think if we keep that up, we'll get more quality applicants. Thank you.
And I will introduce Zuli Torres Santiago as our next testimony to share that this is actually real. And I appreciate you sharing your story, Larry, how easy that was. So I'll turn it over to Zuli.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. I'm sorry. Good morning again. My name is Zuli Torres. I am from Puerto Rico. I've been a member of the Puerto Rico National Guard.
Hi, Zuli. Oh, there you go.
I'm sorry. Can you listen to me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So I was teaching, but at the same time, I was trying to work with the.
We're having some technical difficulties with the audio. Oh, there you are, Zuli.
I'm sorry. So I got called after that interview. I got called for program support.
I apologize, everyone. We are having some technical difficulties. I'm going to move on to the next slide. And if we can get Zuli's audio back, we'll go ahead and bring her back into the fold. Next slide, please. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Miss Ebony Jerry, who's going to talk more about the national job openings that they have available. Ebony?
Okay, good morning once again. Next slide, please. So this is a list of all of the current opening positions that we have with the VBA. If you are interested in applying for any of these positions, we have the announcement numbers here listed. You log on to USA Jobs. Inside of USA Jobs, it also gives you a brief description of the jobs, of what the duties are, as well as the qualifications. If you find that you are qualified for the positions, feel free to go in to apply for the positions. Make sure that you attach your DD-214. If you are a disabled veteran, make sure you attach your disability letter, your rating letter stating that you are 30% veteran or more. Make sure if you are a Schedule A applicant, or if you're trying to apply as a Schedule A applicant, make sure you attach your Schedule A letter with any positions that you are trying to apply for. If you have all of them, if you have a DD-214 or if you have a Schedule A letter, attach all of them. That's only giving you the opportunity to say, hey, I am qualified for the position. I can meet underneath of these different hiring authorities, which Schedule A or 30%, and you can go on. If the specialists find that you are qualified for these positions, you will go on multiple certificates, which gives you a more of an advantage as far as being selected, because your name now shows up on more than one cert for these positions.
Great. Let's go into some additional opportunities. I want to transition over to Christina Seldy, who is going to talk us through the opportunities with the National Call Centers. I'm sorry, National Contact Center overview. Christina?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
It's actually going to be Ms. Kenesha Britton who's going to brief on this topic.
I think we were having some challenges getting Kenesha connected, so we were going to turn it over to you if you could give us an overview.
Sure, I can do that. We'll see if she can join us here shortly. All right, good morning, everyone. As Marnie said, my name is Christina Seldy, and I am with the VBA, Veterans Benefits Administration, and we are going to do just a brief overview of the National Contact Center. And again, if Kenesha is able to join us, she can jump in here. She is the program manager for our National Contact Centers. But as you can see here, this is our overview slide. Just tells you a little bit about our contact centers, what they do, some of the duties and the responsibilities. So down at the bottom there, such things as completing claims related actions, so dependency filing, if a veteran is filing for dependency benefits, updating basic veteran profile information, creating benefit entitlement letters, reviewing and validating receipt of evidence in support of a veteran's pending claims, or if a veteran has a pending appeal. Processing what we call intent to file actions, and what the intent to file does is secure effective dates for benefit entitlements for a veteran. And then finally, ensuring all eligible priority claims and appeals are appropriately managed. So those are just a few of the duties and responsibilities that members of the call center will have. I think Kenesha is on. Okay, she sent me a message she was on, but I can't hear her, so I'm gonna move on to the next slide until we can hear her. Oh, I'm sorry, can we go back yep, perfect. Okay. All right, so this slide talks about our open opportunity that we have at the, oh, give me 1 second. I'm gonna try and unmute Kanisha, or Marnie, would you be able to do that? Unmute Kanisha?
Unfortunately, we don't have her on this side to where she could be a presenter. If you could keep going through Christina, and then we'll work to try to loop her in. But if you could just please continue.
Sure thing. So this is our legal administrative specialist, also referred to as a contact representative. As you can see, the starting grade is GS5 with promotion potential up to a GS7. Again, here are listed in the gray box here are some of the roles and responsibilities, duties of the position. Not to go through all of them, just to highlight a few. Advising and providing information on benefits and rights to veterans, counseling not only veterans, but their dependents and survivors, explaining the different types of documents that are necessary for the veteran to submit in order to timely process their claims and appeals. And doing such things as processing change of address requests, establishment or change in direct deposit to the veteran's banking information, burial allowance claims, and dependency claims. Again, this is kind of just a quick snapshot of some of the daily roles of the LAS. All right, next slide, please. Okay, I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about the new NCC location that we have. It is going to be called the Eastern North Carolina Extension Site. We have the location here. It is in Jacksonville, North Carolina, located very closely to Camp Lejeune. Our opening date for this facility will be October 1st, 2020. The onboarding date for the new hires is set to start August 16th, and that is when we will start our training of the contact representatives. This is a brand new state-of-the-art call center facility. It is going to be used as the model for call centers going forward within VBA. So we wanted this to be brand new, state-of-the-art. As you can see, we'll have a modern break room. It'll have a kitchen. We have a mother's room. So it's really going to be a great space to work. And then finally, the hours of operation, we have, it will be 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, that is based off of our call volume to make sure we are answering the most calls for veterans that we can. So we are assisting and answering all their questions that they have. Next slide, please. All right, I know I kind of breezed through that. I wanted to check, I don't think Kanisha is on. I don't see her, but were there any questions for me on the call center, contact center?
Thank you, Christina. We do have some questions coming in. They are a little bit across the board, so I'm going to toss them out to each of the presenters, and we will go ahead and tackle those. All right, the first one that came in is probably going back to Renetta. Is there a 180-day wait after retiring to get into VA careers?
Not for the Department of Veteran Affairs. The actual 180-day cooling off period is for Department of Defense. If you do not know which agencies are part of the Department of Defense, just hit good old-fashioned google.com. But for the Department of Veteran Affairs, no, there is not a 180-day waiver required.
Great, thank you. That question often comes up, and yes. I'm glad you foot stomped that. For those that are looking to go into the Department of Defense, yes, any federal job within Department of Defense, there's 180 days, but all other federal agencies, there's not. So that is great news for VA.
Yes.
All right, then this is probably for you as well, again, Renetta. Okay. There was mentioned about a VA letter and 30%. Does 10% have no leverage?
It does not for the purpose of the 30% or more disabled hiring authority. But again, that could be an example of a Schedule A. you would want to talk to your medical professional or someone in the VA who has authority to look over your medical documentation. And if they have determined that there are certain disabilities that warrant a Schedule A letter, that's the letter that you can receive in place of the 30% or more disabled documentation.
Marnie, this is Al. In addition to that, you can also sometimes have a disability that is not service connected, so you can be significantly disabled and not have it service connected. At that point, you would just need to have a letter from your doctor stating as such.
Great, thank you. And this is a question, I think it was covered, but it's worth restating. Where are open VBA jobs listed? Are they only in USA Jobs or are they listed elsewhere?
They are posted on USA Jobs.
Great. Is there a way to transfer into the VA if you are currently a DoD employee?
Yes, you need to go onto USA Jobs and you need to find whatever position that you're interested in and apply. And then if you are selected for the position, then you will be referred on a certificate, and if you're selected from the certificate, then HR will be reaching out to you from there.
Great, thank you very much. We have another question. Can you address the points received for special hiring authority?
So there's not necessarily points. This is Renetta. For special hiring authorities, your points come from your veteran preference. And so if you are a veteran preference you either have 5 or 10 points. Preference is the maximum based on your circumstances. And to find out whether or not if you don't know if you have veteran preference points, there is a website that I can provide at the close of this meeting that you can go right online in the Department of Labor, that there's a few questions that you answer, and based on those answers, it would tell you whether or not you are 5 points or 10-point vet preference. So it doesn't have anything to do necessarily, I say it that way, with the special hiring authority. It's more whether or not you're authorized vet preference, because you can have vet preference without having using any special hiring authority. They don't necessarily go together.
And I have a couple more questions, and then I'm going to turn it over to Kenesha, who was able to join us, or we were able to figure it out to get her onto this side and present. So let me go through the last few questions, and then I'll turn it over to Kenesha if she needs to add anything on the contact centers. All right. This question is regarding specifically, is there a point of contact to assist me with applying through the Special Hiring Authority program in the Houston area?
There is a Renetta Brefford in the Washington, D.C. area who is here to assist veterans for opportunities in the Department of Veteran Affairs, primarily at the VA. And so you can reach out to me and I'll reply back and let you know or answer some of your questions and tell you some of the other wonderful things that you may not know as well.
Great, thanks, Renetta. All right, this is another question about the hiring process. How long is the hiring process? Are they wanting to fill the job within a certain amount of weeks after the closeout? And this might be going back to, I know with Larry's testimony, and he was explaining how quick that was. Maybe Renetta, you could explain on the hiring process timeline. Is it something that they need to plan months in advance, or is it something where they should be ready within days or weeks?
Okay, I see. And generally, when you apply for positions in the federal government through usajobs.gov, there is a closeout date. And so that means that all the applicants have to have their information in the system prior to that closeout date, on or before, I should say, the closeout. And then the HR specialist has to go through a process of reviewing all of the applications, and those individuals who qualify, they would then transfer those over to the hiring manager. For most organizations, they have what we call a peer review, which means individuals, they look at all those applications and they dwindle them down to a certain number of applicants based on the hiring manager's preference. And then if that individual is selected, there will be an interview process. Then after that, once you're selected, you will get another call, and then there will be an onboarding or date of selection or hiring date. So the process can take 30 days or more. It just depends on how quickly they need to ramp up for that position and whether or not they're using certain special hiring authorities that we talked about earlier. In the case of what you heard Larry say, when he was brought on right away because they were doing a direct hire, which means they were able to offer him a job without even going necessarily through usajobs.gov. But as Ebony already indicated, the positions that she has shown you, she's indicated that those positions are, you must apply through usajobs.gov.
Great, thanks. All right, the last question that we have in the queue right now, and this is regarding the SkillBridge program. Is there an approved career skills program or DoD SkillBridge program to help start a career with VA, and what type of jobs would it help certify?
So this is Dr. Castillo, and I'll take that question. So there is, just recently, VA signed an agreement with DoD to share the SkillBridge program, which we're very excited about. So it is just getting off the ground within VA, but what it does is opens up the possibility for any organization, any administration, any program in VA to start a SkillBridge program, and just that mimics, quite frankly, what DoD is doing. So the possibilities are limitless. It can open up doors to just about any kind of program out there that lends itself to a SkillBridge type of program. So I don't have anything specific right now as far as this type of jobs, because as it says, we are very excited that we do now have that program in partnership with DoD.
Great, thank you. All right, before we get in, so if anyone, we do have a few minutes left, and we will have a few more presenters give some more information, but if you do have a question, please put it in the Q&A feature and we'll go ahead and ask that. Last question before I turn it over to Kenesha to fill us in on anything we might have missed during her portion of the presentation. All right, this is, if I need an internship in the HR department, how would I apply for it and what position would be best or equivalent to apply for? Do you have internships or any type of apprenticeship programs within the HR departments?
So as of right now, we do not have any internships that we have in the HR department.
Okay, thanks, Ebony. All right, Kenesha, I wanted to turn it back to you to talk through the National Contact Centers and anything else. So I'll give you the floor, and if we need to go back in the slide presentation, just let us know.
Good morning. Good morning. Are you able to hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
All right. In every corner of America, there sits a veteran who has filed a claim, a dependent seeking to enroll in school, a widow who has filed for survivor benefits, and those who are still looking to engage with VA. Our national call centers offer a path of prosperity for our clients to interact with customer agents to better understand available benefits and services. Many agents who are veteran themselves are drawn to our centers because of their commitment to the mission of serving our most deserving. We have excellent opportunities for individuals with an unyielding commitment to public service. Our organization has all the necessary ingredients for growth and success with a timeless mission and obligation to care for those who shall have borne the battle and for his widow and his orphan. As Christina Seldy indicated earlier, we are currently recruiting for legal administrative specialists at the GS5 and 7 grades in all NCC locations across the country. Wouldn't you like to be a part of this winning team? If so, please look for us on USA Jobs, where we regularly post these great opportunities. Again, our national contact centers are an excellent opportunity for you to come and work for VA and continue your service to serve veterans. Thank you for your time today, and we look forward to the many applications that we will receive.
Great, thank you, Kenesha. Really appreciate that. All right. While we're waiting for any questions rolling in, I wanted to turn it over to Dr. She's the Assistant Director of Transition and Economic Development. And I want to turn over to her to give us some closing remarks and wrap up all the opportunities with VBA.
Thank you, Marnie, and thank you so much for hosting this opportunity. We're very excited to be partnering with you. And And thank you to all of our guest speakers. We really appreciate your partnership, and we look forward to further collaboration with you, and especially excited with all the participants who are on board, and hope to see them in one of our offices soon. So the Office of Transition and Economic Development is a recently stood up office that is dedicated to the economic well-being of transitioning service members, veterans, and their families. And so part of what we do is events like this, and partnering with our internal partners as well as our external partners to provide information and opportunities to our veterans and their families and the transition service members, to bring them into the VA family and provide them opportunities in working with their fellow veterans and family members and transition service members, and helping them meet their economic goals as they leave military service and enter into, as a veteran, enter into the civilian workforce. So the Office of Transition and Economic Development, or TED as we're called, is very excited to be part of this and to bring this opportunity to everyone else. Please feel free to ask any questions as we remain open on this. And we look forward to really seeing so many folks, new members of the VA community. Barney, thank you so much. And thank you so much to all of our participants and to all of our speakers. We truly appreciate your collaboration, your partnership.
Thank you so much, Dr. Castillo. I know we had some technical difficulties earlier, but I did want to give an opportunity one more time to see if Zuli was able to get her audio to work. Zuli, if you are there, I'd love to turn it back to you for you to share your story. Just click unmute and we'll see if we can connect. There we go. You need to click unmute.
Dawn, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Hey, good morning. So my name is Ley Torres. I'm from Puerto Rico. Right now, I'm working as a legal administrative specialist at the San Juan Call Center. I've been a member of the Puerto Rico National Guard for 10 years. I'm working on my master's degree in curriculum and teaching for people with learning disabilities. I used to be a teacher before working with the VA, but I've been trying to get into the VA like for a long time through USA Jobs, but I didn't know, by that time I didn't know that I could apply by using the credentials of my husband, of my spouse, because he is retired and he is service connected 100%. So first time I applied using his information was in about July of last year. I applied for program support analyst, and I got the interview, but I never got called until like 4 months after. Then when I got that call, I got excited thinking that I got the job, but they told me, didn't got that one, but we look at your certificates and you're qualified to participate of a hiring fair that we're gonna hold for spouses of the veterans for the legal administrative specialist. So I went to the fair. They had a lot of different tables. There were a lot of veterans. They had conferences and all that. I got close to the table. I provided to the people who was there my resume, my credit transcript, my husband papers. They told me to wait for about 15 minutes. Then they called me for the interview. The interview was very nice. They were like, questions as they were doing were like, how did I learn English? Why would I wanted to work with the VA? All that kind of questions. I created like a timeline here. So I got the tentative selection offer the same day on the afternoon. Then a couple of days later, I got the tentative offer, and then like 3 more days and I got the final offer. I accepted, and then I waited like 1 week, and then I started training. On March, I was sent to the floor. Right now I'm taking calls, and it's been an awesome opportunity. There's a lot of growing opportunities as well. I've been seeing how more openings get posted. We get the emails with the internal opportunities and also with the external ones. So I think it's a very good place to work. If your spouse is interested, I think this is an excellent place to work and to create a career. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie. Appreciate your patience as we were working through those challenges and really appreciate you sharing your story. All right, we had another question come in. This is about volunteer opportunities. Are there volunteer opportunities with VBA to gain experience? Not sure who the right individual is to address that, but is there someone that could address volunteer opportunities?
Well, what I can say is that we do have a volunteer organization in the VA who facilitates the different type of volunteer opportunities. In particular for VBA, I'm not certain who their point of contact is or if anyone from VBA knows, but I do know that the agency does have a volunteer services organization who does help individuals and lets them know what volunteer opportunities are available.
Great, thanks, Renetta.
Sure.
All right, we have a few more minutes. I'll go through some more admin notes, but if you do have a question as we're reaching the top of the hour, please put it in the Q&A and I'll be sure to toss it to our panel of experts. All right, as we're closing out, this session has been recorded and you can go to our Hiring Our Heroes website at the address on the screen. And if you want to review not only this session, but any of our past sessions over the last 8 weeks, you're more than welcome to do that. We have a full programming schedule coming up today. We have 2 more sessions. One is on the transportation industry, and then we have another one that's centered around the Grow with Google platform for veterans and military spouses. So we have 2 more sessions today, and then we have another session tomorrow that is specific to military spouse fellowships. These are paid fellowships, and we're giving an overview of what those opportunities are in the companies that are hosting and hiring through that program. And for future weeks, please go to our website, hiringourheroes.org, and /events is where you can see the listing to register for any of those upcoming sessions. And we will be having more virtual career fairs so please join us for any of those sessions or review any of the past recorded sessions if you are looking for resources. So it doesn't look like we had any more questions come in, but I wanted to thank our Department of Veterans Affairs, specifically the VBA team. I really appreciate you joining us today and sharing all of your hiring opportunities and sharing the testimonies of those that have reached success and found new careers through your efforts. So just want to thank, a round of applause to all of you. We look forward to having you join us again. And just thank you everyone else who has joined us today. And we hope to see you again soon. Stay well and have a wonderful holiday weekend, Memorial Day weekend, honoring those who have served.
Thank you, Marnie, and thank
you.
Hiring Our Heroes for this opportunity. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you. Our pleasure. Thanks, everyone.